Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. Well, it's been a few weeks since I've made a video, so what's been happening in that time? In today's video, we're going to have a look around the front garden and the swales to see what I've been doing. We're going to check out the young lambs and hang in till the end because I'm going to go through what's actually been happening with me and how it's going to affect what I can do in the gardens this year and also what videos I'm going to be able to make. One of the main things I've been doing during winter in the front veggie garden is getting my paths sorted. It's something I generally do in winter because I've got time. I'm not doing so much planting, but I still haven't quite finished that, although I'm just about there. And something I've been experimenting with my paths is actually growing some potatoes in them. This strip here was my original compost path. And when I was rebuilding it, I had lots of green potatoes. So I just sort of threw them in and just for a bit of an experiment really. And as you can see, they're growing profusely. Now, I haven't planted much around it, so it doesn't matter too much about its use as a path. And by the time the gardens are needed on each side of it, I should have pulled all these potatoes out. But it might be a bit of a mistake, but I just thought it would be a bit of fun to see what happened. Right next to my potato path is my fennel patch. Now these fennels have just grown from the roots that were left in the ground, and there's some that have bulbed up nicely and could certainly be harvested, while others just kind of stay small and fairly spindly. If I thinned this out, then they would grow a little bit bigger, but I'm not too worried about that. And there's some starting to flower, and they'll go to seed, which spreads seeds around, so I get sort of little individual plants starting out in the garden, which I'll harvest when they're big enough. My echinacea plants are just starting to come to life again, which is fantastic because they're such a beautiful flower. And the garlic's looking pretty good at this point. Still a few months before I'll be harvesting it. Right next to the garlic is where I had my green manure, and everybody was right. There was lots that was growing back. So I've just put this old tin sheeting on top of it to see if we can get those plants under control. And I'm yet to kind of chop down my green manure in that garden bed, but hopefully I'll get to that soon. And I do have a couple of garden beds which I've just really left. I've got leeks growing in there which I could harvest, but most of this garden bed I just sort of picked lots of green leaves to throw them to my chickens. So it's a really useful chicken feeding patch. And my winter garden patch is essentially finished. I've finished off all the collies. I've still got kale growing nicely in here. The mustard plants have really kicked in well. The bees are starting to come in to enjoy these brassica flowers. And I've still got some sprouting broccoli. If I'm quick enough, I can pick that off to enjoy. But most of it seems to be moving along quickly into flowering. The seedlings I put in fairly recently, maybe 4 weeks ago, because I certainly showed it on a video, have only just started to kick in. We've started to have a little bit more warmth, and we've certainly been getting a dumping of rain lately, so they're responding well to that. My asparagus have started to kick in, and I'm getting to the point where I've got to kind of keep an eye on it each day to see if I can harvest some before I miss them, and they're already sort of starting to take off. The broad beans have also been responding to the bit of rain and warmth we've been having. I'll have to get the next level of this mesh that holds them sort of upright in the winds onto it soon. Still doing well in the garden are my celery plants, and they're right next door to an area of garden that is hosting some volunteer beetroots. So it'll be nice to get a good crop of beetroot out of this space. Not much in the way of lettuce in the garden at the moment, but I've got this frilly oak leaf lettuce and a few of these green lettuce, I'm not sure what they are, which have all self-sown in the garden. The chickens are still enjoying a feast of Swiss chard leaves. And there'll be plenty more to come because look at all these little volunteer plants right next to that garden bed. Still plenty of carrots in my carrot bed, although I should be planting more. Right next to them are the onions that I've planted that should be going to seed, and soon I'll have to start thinking about planting onion seeds for the actual onions themselves. Veggies aren't the only thing that volunteer in my garden. Right here is a big patch of chamomile plants that volunteer every year in this space. I grow chamomile in the garden bed that runs along the edge of the veggie patch, and it just seems to spread them right into this garden bed here. So I'm able to dig up these plants and move them to other places around the farm that I want chamomile growing. Now, something I have been working on is my front yard chicken coop. I started building it 3 years ago and it kind of stopped for a long time. Things just got a bit hard and I just wanted to put my time into other activities. The mobile coop has been good, but I want to move that out onto my swales. And getting a secure enclosed run is important to me for if I ever want to go away. I'd like to leave the girls in a safe space. So with the help of my son and his fiance, we managed to get the wire up, and I've sort of buried a whole section all around to hopefully prevent foxes digging in and under. The area above I will be covering with a bird netting to make sure that hawks and eagles and things can't get into the chickens. One of the things I do like about this coop is access to the egg box will be on the outside. So I can just grab the eggs there and I'll secure that nicely. I will have a think about whether anything can jump up on here and then kind of in. I might still do a little bit more securing on this side. And then under here, I've still got to make a little doorway. I'm going to be lifting that up and throwing in compostable ingredients from the veggie garden. So the materials will just go in under here. There's mesh at the bottom of the coop where the manure will drop down, and the chickens will be able to just work over the materials here. And this is at the higher end of the slope, and the materials will just kind of chuff on down the hill. Now that we've had a look around the front garden and the chicken run, let's head out to the swales and see what's been happening there. We're up on my top swale now, where you can see that spring's not far away. This is my nectarine tree, and it's got the beautiful pink blossoms on it that the bees are enjoying. I did get round and prune on my stone fruit. It might have been a month or even 2 ago. A couple of them I did have to butcher quite a bit. They were the ones that were diseased, and I'm hoping to have removed most of the diseased branches and given them a chance to regrow with all of that gone. But anyway, we'll see how that pans out. August is always an exciting time of year around the farm because it's generally the time we have lambs. 3 of my ewes have had twins, and so we've got 6 little lambs at the moment. I've got 1 more ewe, but she's probably still a couple of weeks off. Wow, packers are really doing a great job of looking after these little lambs. Dusky in particular is sort of like king of the kids at times. We've got 3 white lambs, 3 black lambs, 2 boys and 4 girls, and they all look very happy. Continuing on from my little lambs, we'll see where I've done quite a bit of chop and drop near the olive trees. Now, it was quite a few weeks ago that I was here. You can see that just by how dry the leaves have all got. But the plan here was to cut down, well, I've cut down that Tagasasti. I've really chopped back some of the acacias that were shading these trees. So both of the trees have got a lot more access to the sunshine now. So I cut these trees down, which were volunteers along the paddock, and it will also help my pasture grow a bit better, I believe. And I took quite a bit of this tree down, which was shading this tree a lot. I still have to think whether I'll take this acacia down a bit more, but for the moment, it has opened up the whole area to a lot more of the afternoon sun. So I'll see how that goes for the moment. These trees haven't flowered yet, so I believe it's just because they're just too shady. So bit by bit, I'm going to open up the sunshine to them. Already I'm seeing benefits. There's lots of this young growth coming on both of these trees that really was starved for light, I think. I also managed to spread some of the chopped material around my 2 hazelnut trees that are up here, who will also benefit from the extra light. And while I might have chopped down quite a bit of Tagasasti in some areas of the property, you can see this stand here is alive and well and full of beautiful flowers. It's keeping my bees very happy here in late winter. The Tagasasti is really a great source of both nectar and pollen. And now let's head down to my bottom swale, where we'll check out the chop and drop I've been doing there. And the chop and drop that I've been doing down here is mostly to get more sunshine to my apple trees. They were quite surrounded by all the support trees, so I've chopped a lot of the trees on the north and northwest of them. There's still trees on the south, which helps prevent the southerly winds hitting them, but the winds from the north and northwest don't seem to impact so much where they are. So hopefully coming into spring we'll get some great apples happening on these trees. The chop and drop created a lot of materials that I've spread around, cutting a bit more finely around little plants like these rhubarb. But it certainly doesn't have to be too fine around these more established trees. This is another one of my apple trees. I've cut half of this Tagasasti. It was kind of growing along the ground out from these points. And it was here that I did have a big wombat hole. Now the wombat didn't actually choose to make it its home. So I've used a lot of those thicker branches to fill in that space. And who knows, it might kind of be a hugelkultur type arrangement, but I haven't put any soil on it. I'm hoping that over time that will just kind of fill itself in. But it will also be a really good moisture sink for the trees around it. So just here I've got the third of my apple trees along this swale, which is I think a Frecklin Rouge. It's more a cider type apple. And along here is my fourth apple, which is a Bonza. And that's an eating apple. So as you can see, the chop and drop has really opened these apple trees up to some airflow and some sunshine. Now, something that I'm enjoying around the farm at this time is beautiful daffodils. I planted quite a few different varieties around the place, and they've slowly multiplied over the last few years, so I'm getting more and more of these gorgeous blooms. Okay, let's go off to the dam now. Hello everybody, sorry to disturb. So just here around the dam, where the ducks are enjoying, I've done some chop and drop of these acacia trees. Now they again were volunteers, but they were shading out the olive trees that I've planted here. So we've got a little bit more light to these trees. They're a bit hard to see against the mulch, but I've been able to mulch that soil really well. That needs, a lot of improving, and it's also created a great space for my ducks to sit during the daytime. I don't know, they must feel a little bit protected, certainly sheltered from the wind in this spot. I've got 4 little olive trees, which were planted quite a bit later than all the other trees around the place and have been nibbled by sheep. So I'm hoping with a bit of extra TLC, they might start to kick in this year. It's been very windy lately, and I hope the microphone's doing okay for this video. But on this walk around, I've just discovered a little bit more work to do. But looking at the bright side, it's also a bit more firewood for perhaps next year. Pretty pleased my lambs weren't in this bit of my pasture and under this tree. So now we're onto my roadside swale, where I haven't done a lot, but I have chopped some of the large acacia trees, the volunteers, which were on the sort of cut out side of the swale. So I've managed to spread all of that biomass around. Well, that's it for the tour around the property and what I've been doing for the last few weeks. Not as much as I would have liked. If you'd like to hear where all my time has gone, hang in till the end of the video. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I moved to this property so I could grow organic food. I knew where it came from, I knew that it was good for me and it would improve my health. I also love the idea of just improving some of the landscape, so that was kind of a bonus too. But what I found was it didn't improve my health. I still had chronic inflammation, my bones were still deteriorating, I have an autoimmune disease which doesn't go away, that's celiac disease. And I still hadn't worked out what was going on until February of this year. And I managed to self-diagnose myself with chronic inflammatory response syndrome, which is CIRS is the acronym for it. Now, it's actually a multi-system, multi-symptom illness. And I found that it's actually been the environment for over 40 years that has been causing all of my health issues. What a revelation. It wasn't the food, although good food does improve my health. And I mean, to look at me, you probably wouldn't realize what's going on. I do have energy and I can work hard, but the energy isn't always there. It is on camera, but not always there. And there's lots of things I could work on. So I'm not going to go into too much detail as to what CIRS is, but certainly look it up. But what I found, it is people with genes that I've got, we can't process toxins, in particular toxins from organisms that are found in water damaged buildings. So my innate immune system, while it recognises the toxin, it can't stimulate my adaptive immune system to make antibodies to get rid of the toxins. So the toxins accumulate, and the poor innate immune system is just on fire the whole time, saying alert, alert, but nothing, no one's coming to put the fires out. So what I've had for 40 plus years is chronic inflammation. So I have discovered that it is the water damage in the buildings that grows these organisms that I can't kind of deal with, and it's causing my ill health. Now, there is treatment for this, and the first thing is to remove yourself from exposure. So in my situation, I did have a leak in the house. 4 years ago during the pandemic, there was a slow leak, so it was wet for months and months, unbeknownst to me. And while I did get it fixed and the job repaired, the damage had been done, and I wasn't really switched on to organisms growing in houses at that point. We sealed up the walls, there was nothing obvious, it looked dry, but there was already enough moisture there for long enough to get these organisms growing, and that's what ultimately has kind of kept my ill health going. Now, I have lived in 4 different houses that have had water damage, so this has been a problem for me for most of my life. But I want to treat it, because if I let it go, I will get brittle bones, and I will also probably develop Alzheimer's within the next 10 years if I don't do anything about it. And the first thing you've got to do with treatment is get out of exposure. So what I've been doing is getting rid of all porous things in my house, the carpets, the curtains, pictures, all my possessions that are porous. You can treat clothing, but I'll have to throw out all my shoes. It's kind of almost opposite to being a permie. You have to dispose of these things, you know, mattresses, all sorts of stuff. So most of my house is just empty and devoid of anything. I have to renovate my whole house. So my plan is I'm going to put in a sliding glass door to my former bedroom so I can access the other end of the house, seal off, put a wall through the middle of the house, work on one end while I live in the other, get it so that it tests negative for all these organisms, then move in there while I do the other end. Now, a lot of my time has been going to this, and over the next few months to a year, I'll be renovating this house mostly. Well, I'll be doing most of the work myself, which means I'm not going to have time to get out into the garden and the swales like I've been doing. Now, that will impact on the videos I put out, because I don't want to just put out, you know, this is what my volunteer garden is doing videos all the time. I will hopefully be making some videos, but it'll be just on subjects sort of as they come up that I feel are of value to put out there. So my weekly videos are probably a thing of the past for the next year or so, unless, yeah, I don't know at this point. I would love to keep going like I have been doing, but I can't put that time into the garden. But I suppose that's where permaculture comes in. The volunteers in my veggie garden are going to keep me going, and I'm sure my swales, they just won't sort of move through succession, especially with the soils, if I'm not working at, you know, chopping and dropping and planting more plants like I should be doing. It just won't go as quickly as it would if I could put some more time into it. But I just thought I'd let you all know what's going on, and it might be of interest to people like myself who are struggling and the quality of food isn't doing it for you. It could just be your environment. So if that sounds like you, have a look into this. It's not widely known in conventional medicine. They kind of don't know about mold illness, but it is a real thing. I've done various tests to show that it is my problem. One of the tests I did was a urine test. One test was done with just urine as is, and that showed no mycotoxins coming out. But then when you introduce glutathione, which helps mobilize toxins from your system, there was really high levels of various mycotoxins. So it really reinforced to me that I'm holding on to these things and not getting rid of them, and causing my body all sorts of issues. So check that out if you're interested, or if you think, you know, that might be something that's affecting you. They do say 25% of the population have genes for this. Doesn't mean that all of those people respond like me. It takes a sort of an activating event in your life to cause this to happen. Now, whether that was Epstein-Barr virus for me back when I was a teenager, I'm not too sure, but certainly that's when my health really went downhill, and that's when we had a laundry leak as well, and that sort of set off this whole chain of events with various ill health issues over the years. But anyway, I hope to be making some videos, but I hope you understand that I won't have the same amount of time that I've had in the past to get them out to you all. Love all your comments, and I love the community that my videos have created here, and I really do want to continue with this. So I thank you for getting to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.